Hi guys, so now that the comparison shootout videos are done and released for the 1x12, which was the only fair way to give a complete comparison per speaker without any kind of outside factors, now that's been done and you can see what the differences are, I thought it'd be quite nice to compare them in a 2x12, because quite often in a 2x12, this is something I've always done, is I'll have two different speakers in the 2x12 and I'll mic them both up, usually in some sort of combination, and use the kind of the interaction between the two speakers to give me a really big, massive kind of sound, or at least give me a kind of a potential balance and give me options. So without further ado, let's describe the rig, because this is slightly different from the 1x12 videos, and then we'll look at what we've got. So we have the tube screamer going into my Peavey 6505 Plus head, which is a 50 watt head that used to be in a 1x12 combo, which means that if you turn it up about halfway in terms of volume, it gives you a nice big saturated crunch, which is really great for this kind of application. Now the cabinet is a Zilla Fatboy 2x12, where we've been using a fat baby 1x12 before. This is a closed back 2x12, so this is a real rock and metal monster, and it's quite a lot heavier in weight because it's got the two speakers in it, and it's got a big thick tone to it. But I couldn't really use this for the comparison videos that we did because the two speakers inside the cabinet, they can interact a little bit, and I know a lot of you guys would have said, oh, but that speaker's affecting this one. So what we're going to do is, this is going to be the most commonly used rock and metal guitar speaker that I know of, is the Vintage 30 by CELESTION. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you what the Vintage 30 sounds like in this cab, and then we're going to compare the Vintage 30 Plus second speaker, whatever that may be. So the mics on this are an SM57 and an SE R1 ribbon, the older R1. I actually filmed these before the Voodoo ribbon came to us. So I know I'm kind of releasing them out of sequence, but that's what we got to do to make sure the big reveal for the 1x12s was right. So this is how the Vintage 30 sounds on its own, and that's just the left two microphones on this cab. The left speaker at all times is a 8 ohm Vintage 30. Sounds like quite a beast, doesn't it? So this is where things get interesting. So what I've done is I've taken that speaker's volume down by 6 decibels, which is half the volume, and I've added the microphones that are on the other speaker, whatever that may be. So that brings us back to it's exactly the same volume comparatively when we compare them. So the first speaker that's up is the CELESTION EVH, which I'm told by CELESTION is very, very similar to their G12M Heritage Greenback. If not almost exactly the same apart from the EVH logo, that's pretty much what it is. So this is a 20 watt speaker along with the 60 watt handling Vintage 30. So this is being pushed quite hard. It's got a real bite to it, hasn't it? So the next one that's up is the Lynchback, the George Lynch speaker. Now this was a really interesting one. I thought these sounded really nice. It's quite a heavy speaker. It'll break your back lifting them, but it's got a definite lead kind of tone to it. It's got a bit of a scooped mid and quite a present high end. So see what you think of this one. So this one is Celestion's CREAMBACK M65. This is one of my own speakers that I've bought. So this is quite a chunky, heavy kind of speaker. This can handle 65 watts on its own, which means that the vintage 30 can handle 60 watts. So between them, this is at least a 120 watt cab. So it's a 2x12 that can handle a 100 watt head on absolute full and still not blow the speakers. Which, hey, I've always said, what do you need a 4x12 for these days? But that's proof in itself that you don't need them. You can just keep cranking the volume and the speakers will just keep knocking louder and louder sound out. So this is the CREAMBACK M. So between the CREAMBACK M that you've just heard and this next speaker, these are my favourite tones out of this combination. Now this is the Celestion CREAMBACK Neo. Now this, it's nothing to do with the Matrix. The Neo is a complete redesign of the CREAMBACK range. So this one can handle 60 watts, which if I just go and lift it to show you, 60 watts plus the 60 from the vintage 30 means that this again can be a 120 watt cab. The difference between this, and I'll do a separate video for this, the difference between this and the other speakers is this is so light. I can hold this on my little finger. It's very, very light compared to other speakers, which means it's not going to break your back. Which, if you've ever been a gigging musician and you've had back troubles, this is a really great fix for that. So yeah, I'll do a separate video on the CREAMBACK Neo, but this is how it sounds. And last but not least is the speaker that was originally in the cab, which I specified when we ordered it, which was the K100. It's a bit of an oddball choice. It's a big fat speaker that can handle 100 watts, which simply means that as you turn the volume up, it's not going to compress. It's not going to give you that speaker saturation, which if that's what you don't want, if you want a more modern sound, that's a good choice of a speaker to go for. It's quite interesting to me how kind of thick and meaty and not very toppy that combination sounds, because I really expected the K100 to have more top end, being kind of the modern rock and metal kind of thing. And I think my personal opinion is that I prefer the CREAMBACK Neo out of all of these, and that combination weighs a good few kilos less for the cabinet than the other options. I hope you find those useful, and I hope you find what you've heard already useful. Thanks for watching. I'm Adam Steele for the Hot Pole Studios. Hit subscribe if you want to see more of these kind of videos or any of the other audio tech stuff that we do. It's greatly appreciated. And if you want to talk about recording guitars or coming into our studio and recording a full band, let us know through YouTube or go to our website. The link is down below. It's hotpolestudio.co.uk. And get in contact, and we'd love to work with you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.